Hi. Hello. This is a pep talk for all of us as artists. My name is Anamika. I'm an artist in Portland, Oregon. I do a bunch of things, including painting portraits. I also lead this online membership called the Art Friend School, and I have a podcast, a visual podcast called The Art Friend Show. So today, I'm recording this as a pep talk specifically for one member of the Art Friends School online. You know who you are. Hi. And your questions are so resonant and universal. And I've been working as an individual artist mentor for a long time, since 2018. And so I've seen some version of these questions and lived these questions myself. And I thought that this answer, whatever is going to come through me to respond to you, might be applicable for all of us. So this is a pep talk for you and for the rest of us. So she writes, "Hi, Anamika. Question: I'd love to be an artist and to create my own art one day. A lot. So I'm just going to respond piece by piece. So I'm very familiar with this transition that feels so necessary on a level of self-expression to learn the form of art through, maybe growing up drawing or not, taking classes in various mediums from different teachers, trying on different styles. And then there's this very necessary transition that happens where you yearn to create in your very own style and to really adopt a process and a practice that feels true and isn't emulating another artist style or following, an exact method that you've learned in school or an online class or in the community, something like that. So, I absolutely understand and know how necessary it is to make that step forward into doing your own thing as an artist. And there's so much to say just on that first little piece. Not little. Like I have a whole I have a whole course about that. This like mentoring program, the Visual Artist Accelerator that I was doing before Art Friend School to really help people. And the thing that I would say that I've learned from years of doing that, because I built that for myself, I was at the same place, is to really focus on making a collection of work. And so focus and set a goal to make a collection of work. And even if you can condense it into 1 or 2 months so that you work through your ideas quickly, acknowledging your influences, but then while you're making, really look for ways that you stick out. Look for the true parts of yourself and even the things that feel sort of awkward and wonky and that you aren't able to emulate if you do, notice the influence of other artists or teachers in your work. Like if you work through a collection in a condensed period of time, when you sit down to really review it all, look for the things that stick out that are uniquely you, and then lean into those. And that can be a great way to set yourself on a trajectory of finding your own style, your own thing, the thing that really lights you up as an artist. Okay. And I also know just how important that is from a sense of being alive. So I highly, highly recommend going for it. Then, and if you can, after you've really pursued your own wonkiness, your own kind of where you really are in a collection of work, try sharing that collection with the world. Have a pop up in your living room. This is my living room, or go live, invite people over, or take it out to a coffee shop, something like that. Because then when you share it with the world, you also start to see how the art lands and you get people's feedback, which can help you also discern what you're willing to kind of like, it's a weird expression, but like die on a hill for, like what feels very, very you about your work, what people actually kind of see in it. And then that can further discern the truthfulness and you-ness of the work in the world. Okay, then she writes, I dream to inspire others with art and to facilitate meaningful conversations with art. And hopefully, one day through being an artist, I can own my authentic expressions of me while experiencing the freedom to create beyond me, to live in the flow of creative expression and to meet other like minded people. Yeah, that's one of the coolest, best things about really really committing to your artistic growth, that when you start to explore your own sense of self and express yourself through your art, which is an ever evolving process and a very serious commitment, it can it can introduce you to the coolest people, seriously, like, because other artists are gonna resonate with the work that you make, and you'll be more visible if you're willing to share your work with the world. So, one thing that I see again and again, this helps me make sense of my own career, is that we create value with our art each time that we make it. And that value may be in the realm of self-expression and feeling like, you're authentic. That value may be in the realm of connection, as you say, to meet other like minded people, facilitate meaningful conversations. So that's when you've made you've self expressed and then you're actually letting the world have it and see it. And another way that we create value is often creating a product or a service around your art. They're not always all three on like one piece of art, right? So products or services could be physical art objects or classes, or I do a lot of mentoring as well as painting. But it sounds like the things that you're really interested in right now aren't around creative business. They're around a sense of truly feeling self expressed as a human being and then sharing that work with the world, whether it's your visual art or your writing or your insights from making it music, and getting to know you and your practice. So, whatever you're creating, once you let the world see it and have it and get to know it, it can create really meaningful connections and draw you in. And I mean, I have a whole show around this, the Art Friend Show, because I think that a lot of us work in isolation in order to be able to really think deeply and work. But there are so many amazing people who just, if we were to step out into the light and be a bit more visible, we can have each other. And I think there's true wealth in community. And that's also my goal with the Art Friends School um, over time. Okay, so then you write, I hope I can use, oh, this is on the nose. I hope I can use this Art Friends School platform to help me and also learn directly from you. Oh, from me. Okay. Because you inspired me so much from your courage to show up and do things, to make art and start conversations. Wow. Okay. So that's where, like, that's so meta, right? Because yes, absolutely. The Art Friend School platform is a way for you to practice inspiring others, right? It's a container, a safe space for you to practice showing up to the community that isn't like Instagram at large or all your friends and family and coworkers and neighbors and high school friends like on Facebook or something. The Art Friend School community is, a rather small container at the moment of artists who are all interested in the connection as a form of resilience and collaboration, adding to our practice. And then that's where you can really practice. And what you just said is that I inspired you by showing up. And perhaps it was during the 100-day project where I showed up every day and did an episode of the Art Friend Show. Or maybe it was showing up, every week for the live calls for the Art Friend School or something like that. Showing up is definitely something that I can do. And I'll just tell you honestly, it sometimes comes from a sense of I don't know what else to do, but I can show up. And some of my mentors, Lisa Congdon, for example, I have her art on my fridge and it says something like, keep showing up. I think that's what it says. Keep showing up. Because if we have our idea, and it doesn't have to be a very complicated idea, but we have an inkling of what we're called to do as an artist, and we just show up for it consistently, good things happen. So, my dear, I invite you to show up. Utilize the feed, post in there, come to the live calls like you're doing right now. Submit your questions so that I can make some content directly in response to it and practice showing up. Yeah. Okay. If I inspire you, look at what it is about that and do that, right? Because I'm doing this because it helps me stay alive and run a business and live with joy and make art. And if it happens to inspire you, there's some clues in there for you. And if one of your goals is to inspire others, um, all you have to do is be you and show up and do that thing. Okay, so then you write, but currently I feel a big obstacle of resistance, both mentally and also physically. I feel burnt out from my job and it kind of creeps through in my free time. Yeah, I feel tired, uninspired, and also questioning my desire and abilities to be an artist. Totally. Okay, so here's a couple of things. Resistance is resistance is part of this whole deal. Um, I often think that making art is a great way to just cross train for being a human because we encounter resistance. Like, I encounter resistance, for example, calling to schedule a necessary like scan that I had to get, right? I did not, for the love of all things good, want to call and schedule this type of medical appointment that I needed to get. I encountered resistance there, right? But when I'm working as an artist, I am dealing with resistance and doubt every time I work on a project, every time I show up. They're there in some form. And so that practice of showing up and befriending, not befriending, but just showing up and learning to work, even though resistance and doubt are there, or showing up and learning a bunch of strategies to help has also helped me in my regular life. Am I a perfect person with a great life? No. Like, I don't ever want to be that person who's like, do what I do because life is awesome. Like, my life is challenging and it's also thrilling. I'm really excited about a lot of the things that art has given me. Um, but for example, when I encounter resistance to following through on a project, I create a lot of accountability. That works for me. Now, we can get more specific. I've worked with a lot of different types of artists who have, types of brain functioning and ways of working. But you need to get to know, maybe look at your actual job. When there's a piece of your job that you have resistance to, what do you do? Is it a deadline? Is it a fear of disappointing someone? That shows that you might need accountability or more structure. Is it actually like working with someone? Do you work best in collaboration? All of those things that you do somewhere else in life, you can apply to your art practice. So, for example, in that form of resistance for me, not wanting to call and schedule some kind of medical appointment, I put accountability in, right? I was like, hey, mom, I need to do this thing. And she was checking in with me until I did the thing. I build accountability in a lot for myself by showing up publicly. Not everyone has to do it that way, but resistance is going to be there. And then also doubt, like literally, when I write a book, it's going to be called Not Today Doubt, because doubt is there so much of the time. I mean, doubt is part of the process when we're typically sensitive, introspective, deeply feeling, deeply thinking, sometimes often overthinking creatives, right? Doubt is part of the process. So I think about doubt as this, like the cycle of doubt and confidence is that when I'm going through a creative process, which I think of as like a circle or maybe a spiral, I cross the territory of doubt on my way back to confidence. And then I make some progress and then inevitably I'll cross back into doubt. So I don't listen to doubt or resistance as if they're like the reason to stop. Just get yourself more support for when you inevitably and often travel through those spaces of doubt and resistance on your way back to inspiration and confidence. It's very normal. And I've worked with some very, very well known, very practiced professional artists, and they have the same exact thing going on in their heads. So we all just need to learn how to support ourselves to keep showing up through it. Okay. Also, you mentioned that you feel burnt out from your job as well as like physically tired. And I totally hear you. I have um, this to say like, comparing can be really, really rough, especially if you're looking at artists who do this full time and you're comparing yourself and your progress and your ability to do things with someone who does it full time versus with someone who works part time or full time in some other way of making an income or having a profession and then making art. So be really loving towards yourself, and also, set up some way of showing up consistently to create, that actually jives with your energy levels and etc. Maybe really tiny, packing a kit that you can do in your car and you get to work 15 minutes early and you do 10 minutes of water. I have had people do that. I have videos about that. If you want my toolkit challenge, let me know. That's actually contained in the Visual Artist Accelerator. So you, dear one who are already a member of Art Friend School, have access to that module. And if anyone else is listening to this in the future, I have the toolkit challenge that's like basically about that. It's about how we can have our tools with us in these tiny little forms so that we can act on an idea and have that sense of fulfillment, because it doesn't take much to interact with our creativity and make a little bit of progress in those moments that it's coming to us. Okay. Also, she writes, I felt guilty to come back into this journey as I wasn't active for the past couple of months and didn't show up. Okay, so this I'm guessing pertains to your participation in the Art Friend School membership, but I'm also going to just generalize it to your participation with yourself as an artist, right? Because I think that the whole reason you're in Art Friend School is like to really take a stand for yourself being and becoming and fully embodying the artist that you know that you are. So one thing I would say is I'll just tell you a story. I'll preface it. I'm 38, right? And when I was 27, I was enrolled, like I'd gone to school. This story is not pouring out perfectly, but I'm going to try to nutshell it. Okay, I was lucky enough and nerdy about art enough to be able to major in art in college. That didn't make me an artist. I loved doing it. And I had a supportive community that thought that was a good idea. And I've worked with a lot of people since who, and the reason I laugh is because it's more classic that the community or your parents or your family of origin are like, don't do art, do medicine, or do something practical. And my family was kind of the opposite. That's why I laugh. And why I also feel really called to be of service, and share this bit of my story, because I did art, but I also did pre med when I did college. Because even though I was majoring in art, I didn't really think I could do it as a career. And then I spent that time in between graduation and when I was 27, working in various healthcare settings, doing like grant based artwork, but by the time I was 27, I really thought that it was too late. Now that I'm older, I'm like, "Oh, honey." But this sense that it's too late, that we're too old and it's too late and we don't have time and we already missed the boat and we're guilty because we didn't show up is so universal. It's so universal. There's so many examples of us as artists tripping out about that. And so when I was 27, it was summertime. I was enrolled in this doctorate of physical therapy program that I'd worked my tush off to get into. And I thought, okay, that'll be my career. But I was like so sad inside. So I deferred admission for a year. I did Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And here I stand, right? I've been a professional working artist now for a little over a decade. It has not been easy. I don't necessarily recommend the path I took. I had to try a lot of things, and a lot of things didn't work. It's taken me a long time to find my thing, but that's also just kind of what it takes. I'm wondering. Oh, good, this is still recording. So, I want to make sure that I get back to your question. You say you feel guilty coming back into this journey as you weren't active for a long time. So, this sense of guilt, responsibility, sense of abandonment of our knowingness that we are artists, that we are creatives, that we are really called into aliveness by making art and living this life. And there's a lifestyle being sold on Instagram. So there might also just be the sense of like yearning for general happiness, which I will tell you doesn't come directly from being a full-time artist. That's a whole nother humaning thing. But the sense of guilt and the sense of running out of time and not being enough and having botched the whole thing, that's very universal. So I would just say file it over here alongside doubt and resistance. Know that it's normal, and know that this guy is coming to the tea station and getting some tea. Anyway, um, know that that is very normal feeling to feel kind of guilty and like you're out of touch, and just be gentle. Show up again. And then, as far as participating in a year round online course, please never feel any sense of obligation. That's the beauty of it. I hope that it's structured and priced in a way that you can pop in, pop out when it's a useful resource for you. And never feel guilty on my behalf. I'm here as a stand for your creativity, whether you're working with me or not. Okay. And then you ask, could you share your experience starting out as an artist and some practical ways of how to improve yourself to create art? Okay, I shared a little bit and I do want to wrap this up, but I would just say make art. Stop thinking, not stop, but in addition to thinking about it a lot and enrolling in communities, start making, and if you can, sharing your art, making and sharing and making and sharing. Inside of a private class can be a safer place to do it. But really, like, there's no way around making stacks and stacks and stacks of work over years and years of time. Okay, that's like it's really the only way. There's a few outliers. Like Kelly Ray is my friend, and she is really interesting because she came into it and she started and she went pro really fast, and that's so inspiring. And I think it shows how much there's like a can do. But now that I've spent a decade working, especially in this particular niche of like with a lot of intuitive painters and things, I think we really need to also look, and that was part of my journey too, is really look at our influences and work and work and work through that into our own nerdy, wonky, beautiful, like weird, why am I doing this thing? And then like keep going into that until we find our thing, professionally, personal expression wise, all of that. There's lots of guides, lots of tools. And if you're called to be an artist, like, please make work, make heaps of work. And remember that, when I have a piano right here, when a piano player is practicing, all of their practice sessions don't stack up. But when we make physical artwork, all of our practice sessions are usually like all around us or in stacks. So also don't feel bad about discarding, two-thirds of what you make as you're learning to make. Like it's not supposed to be good. If it's all good, like take a risk, make some stuff that's not, keep growing, make something weird, make something ragey, make something like dark, make something unexpected, make something with a color that you don't like. Push yourself out of your comfort zone, essentially. Okay. Yeah. Oh, here's your next part. I'm too shy to show my art or sometimes to even voice up and ask for help in a public setting, like in the video calls. Yeah. Okay. So you're at that part where it's really important to protect um, this part of yourself as an artist. Like this part of yourself as an artist is feeling shy, doesn't want to speak up, doesn't want to show up in video calls. So, what I would say is, have you encountered this anywhere else in life? Has there been a point in your life when you've noticed that you have this yearning named up here to be inspiring, to show up, to be with other like minded souls, to make something? That could be like entering kindergarten. I it's tough when we start to reference childhood. I don't want to open that whole thing, but maybe a better place to look is in your workplace or in your family or in a social setting. Has there been a point when you have noticed that you feel very shy? How have you found your voice? Is it following up later? Is it working with someone privately? Is it making something just for you? Um, you can practice. You can practice this in other realms of life. Um, but one thing I would say is that art is such a great place to practice because ultimately it's just like mine, it's just paper and paint, or it's, collage materials. And we need to practice and learn that it's not whether this is good or bad compositionally or people like it or don't, doesn't, um, I don't die, right? Like as a human being, I'm very deeply connected, and we're usually really sensitive about our work as artists. But we can practice and grow in our confidence and grow in our ability to receive criticism, or even in our ability to to put ourselves visible enough to even receive perceived criticism. Because, like, honestly, you probably won't receive criticism for a really, 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 really long time from anyone but yourself. It'll just be in your head. I am almost done. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's what I want to say. And the bottom line is please make your work, and if you will, share it with the world. Find settings that you can. Art Friends School membership is a great place. I'm glad that you reached out with these questions. I hope what I said in here resonates and sparks inside of you. That's the whole dang point of this. And if you have other questions or follow up questions, comment on this, folks, or if you want deeper back and forth like this, join the membership. And thank you so much for sending your question in. And I hope that this has been useful. Okay, bye.